good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome and thank you so very much for being here. As you may or may not know, you should know, I'm Kim Serafini, the founder, creator, and CEO of Positive Prime. I am one of us. I am you, you are me, we are all one. You're probably devoted to helping others, supporting them, encouraging them, inspiring them, teaching them, guiding them, healing them. And maybe you're a little bit like me. You would read a fantastic, best-selling self-help book, something from positive psychology or something from the self-improvement, human potential world, and you think, yes, you know what? I'm going to be and become more like that, whatever it is. And then you actually probably have a very deep knowledge of transformational processes, systems, structures, environments, the enablers for positive change. And if you're a little like me, then you know for a fact that we as human beings need something that's very gentle, that accesses our other than consciousness, which is beyond our consciousness. So we sure have our consciousness, the bit that we can all imagine, which is the iceberg above the waterline. We all have our subconscious, which is the bit of the iceberg that's below the waterline. But the reality is that the environment that we exist in, and now is the field of epigenetics, that's actually really and truly what's influencing us so much more than what we think is. So yes, we have this incredible critical thinking mind, the executive functioning aspect of our brain. But the reality is that we are informed, and what actually moves through us and out, what emerges, is really way beyond our conscious mind. It's really in our other than consciousness. It's our identity, and it's how we behave in alignment with our identity. It's how we actually go about with these autonomic ways of showing up in the world that are really about the fundamentals at that fundamental level of our soul and how we're expressing ourselves and contributing to the world. One of the things that I'm really committed to with Positive Prime is a community of exceptional practitioners who are truly world-class. They're excellent in what they do. They aspire to be even more, even better, even brighter. And when I talk about Positive Prime and our catchphrase about being brighter, I'm actually talking about what we understand from the fields of neuroscience study and research and the fields of positive psychology study and research. But how do we actually apply that knowledge and make it real and relevant for those of us who are, quite frankly, human, right? And when I talk about being brighter, it's not just about our disposition. It's about, in fact, the way that our brains and minds function in an optimal way. Like, how do we actually become brighter, smarter? How do we make more intuitive and aligned decisions that are actually in the best interests of our own higher selves and those of the people that we're serving, right? So being brighter is actually about us being clever and smart and intelligent and awesome at making decisions in really efficient and powerful ways, understanding how profound it is that the choices that we make day in and day out, every minute, every hour, every morning, every afternoon, right? So that's a nice little laying down the picnic rug that we're all about to sit on. And I'm ready for some questions. Fran, Cynthia, Michelle, let me look over here in this beautiful Zoom chat. Ask some questions, if you will, that will allow me to actually help others in our community really decide if being a part of this group of people who are here to positively change the world by being the change that we wish to see, and actually holding ourselves responsible and accountable to a much more evolved and enlightened level. And then how is it that we create tools and also the supportive infrastructure that enables others, helps them, actually facilitates very graceful, easy, simple, swift changes that people are actually desiring, right? How is it that we feel more peaceful? How is it that there is more tranquility and harmony? I could go on and on and on. All righty, so who wants to ask a question? Let me just go to speaker view. Stella, you're up late in London. I want to know why you're here.
I got the invitation from you.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. So you were invited, so you showed up. Do you have a curiosity? Do you have a query? Do you have a question?
Yes, the images, you just watch these images on Positive Prime and the music, and how does that really change your habits or help you become more positive?
Oh, love that question.
Your goal?
Love that question. Alrighty, so there is actually a growing field that's been in development for about 15 years called Neuro Aesthetics. The architects and the designers of the last couple of centuries were also philosophers and poets. They were also mathematicians and scientists. And the reason why I say this is because intuitively, we have known about the spaces and places that have impacted the way that we felt. And we actually know scientifically that the way that we feel, it actually impacts our biology, the functioning of all of our cardiovascular systems or digestive systems. So the aspects of our physical being are impacted by the environments that we find ourselves in, the way that they actually interact with our feelings and our emotions. So there are principles that we understand well now based upon lots of great research, whether it's in the social sciences or the medical sciences. And I'll give you an example. We know for a fact that if we show you certain photographs of green tree canopy, if that photograph, 70% of it is green tree canopy, it actually impacts the way that your body produces cytokines, and it actually improves immune functioning. That is science that is solid. It actually came out of the University of California in Berkeley, North California. That they were really looking at, do you actually really need to be in nature in order to have the benefits that we know physiologically that arise from spending time in nature? Or could I show you a photograph of something that produces this experience of awe? Now, the photographs that you see in a positive prime session are not the only things that are going to help to positively prime you. Quite frankly, if you eat apple pie, the sugar spike will actually cause your brain to actually change in the way that it functions, such that you'll also have the broaden and build effect. But quite frankly, that's really unhealthy. And I can't go around telling the rest of the world to eat sugar, right? But I can, with my hand on my heart, say, you know what, I really want you to be positively primed, because when your brain is in that state, you're more creative. You're actually more resourceful. You're actually calmer. You're more harmonious. There is more serenity in your life. You actually think more clearly. You behave in a way that's really congruent with your ideals, right? So I know that actually showing you a certain number of photographs with absolutely awe-inspiring scenery produces a reaction inside your body. So the formula of positive prime is not just any images, very specifically, carefully curated images designed to do a range of really brilliant, awesome things to your mind and bodies and souls, right? In our certification program, you actually learn a lot more about 17 different aspects to the formula, right? So it would take me an entire day or two to go through them all. We have a lot of information available in the science area of our website. And if you're inquisitive, I would go spend some time there. One of the things that we now know from the science of neuroaesthetics, and I've just posted something to the Facebook pages inside Positive Prime's professional group or Positive Prime's premium members group. And that is that we know for a fact that if I was to give you some wearable health tech that actually measured your biomarkers, we would know how you're actually feeling, like literally feeling what's happening inside your body in terms of heart rhythm coherence and respiration and optimal functioning. Because you know that a stressed body, right? A stressed body either wants to fly away or fight, or it freezes, and it actually produces from your endocrine system actually reacting to whatever is the stimuli that's frightening you or making you feel very confrontational or angry or et cetera, et cetera. You're then going to produce these very harmful, destructive hormones, overproducing something like cortisol, even though we need cortisol and a certain amount of it. It's a bit like cholesterol. We actually need a certain amount of cholesterol, but overproduction of cholesterol is actually, quite frankly, devastating to the body. So one of the things is that we're starting to understand the realities of what can we create for you in terms of an online environment that is really healthy for you. And that's one of the aspects of Positive Prime sessions. When you allow yourself to luxuriate in the experience and just savor the experience and just be really calm and allow yourself, give yourself permission to watch a Positive Prime session, all of the different types of photographs are actually doing something really beautiful to you. Now, in addition to that, some of the hardest work in the world is for all of us to actually think the thoughts that we want to think. If we're really trying to harness and if we're trying to actually have our inner dialogue be very supportive and encouraging and empowering, right? So a lot of us have self-talk that really drags us down and doesn't make us feel powerful and confident and like we can achieve anything that we want and that we really will be successful and we can really be the best versions of ourselves. And so when you're watching a Positive Prime session and you're seeing these incredible statements, your mind is actually reading those statements and it's starting to influence your thoughts so that you can start to think thoughts that are actually better quality for you. When we ask ourselves really good quality questions that are written in a very interesting, positive psychology way, what happens is our brain goes in search of evidence, and that evidence actually then supports our beliefs, and it actually literally impacts the way or influences the way that we show up in the world. So our brains have this need, this insatiable appetite to be right, correct, and accurate. So if I say to myself, oh, gosh, you know what? I hate my body. I hate my body. What happens is that there is this incredible force that is brought to life that goes off and finds evidence or proof to make sure that that statement is right or accurate. And that is what causes most of our challenge and obstacles and problems in our lives. So if I was to read, I love my body, my brain and mind will go off in search of all of the evidence and the proof that it will actually suggest to me all of the reasons, all of the rationale, all of the excuses, everything that's going to build up that belief. Now, I often believe, and I behave in such a way, that there are hundreds of really wise people, great coaches, mentors, teachers, wise, wonderful human beings who are so much more experienced or maybe more enlightened or more insightful than me. So I'm going to watch their sessions that they've authored because it's highly likely they think differently to me. And so if I read their statements, I'm actually going to have a chance at adopting them and allowing them. Now, having said that, we as human beings don't internalize, we don't actually allow into the ocean where the iceberg, if you're following from the previous analogy, we actually need to allow it in and allow it to actually kind of like infuse us. So the crazy thing is that we absolutely must personalize our positive prime sessions by adding in photographs of ourselves. It's why we have the software that you basically activate as soon as you become a premium subscriber. So when you upgrade your account and you become a premium subscriber, even for $10 a month, what actually happens is that you can upload lots of photographs of yourself. You could actually have one really great photograph of yourself that you really quite like, and you could have multiple copies of that so that you see it several times, and it commingles after you upload it. The software literally mixes and merges it into the actual program. So then as you're actually watching somebody else's really amazing program, we call them sessions, and you're seeing photographs of yourself, your other than consciousness is accepting, allowing in a very natural and organic way the ideas so that it actually infuses into you and you internalize, and you are seriously much more likely, it's actually probable, that you will apply that which is you're learning. So there are lots and lots and lots of people who read lots and lots and lots of really fantastic how-to books, but they don't apply. And it's usually because they haven't internalized, right? Because they haven't actually had the message mean something to them personally. And so their other than consciousness hasn't been able to process those messages in a way that actually they can have their identity identify with them, right? So anyway, that's a long-winded answer, but I hope that it helps. Just know that the formula is very thorough and robust and solid, and there are lots of different types or varieties of photographs for really interesting reasons. And certainly by the time you've been through all of our certification classes, you definitely know the answer to all of that, and you can share it with somebody else and enlighten them. Who else has an awesome question?
I have a few questions.
Great. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Okay. So I've kind of tested it out. I guess I signed up through Lion, and then it came at 4x speed to start with, and I'm barely able to read the sentences at that speed. So will it still be effective? That's my first question. If I can't read it, I ended up reducing the speed, so now I can read it, or but I just want to know if at 4x it will be effective. The other thing is my niche is weight loss coaching, so I'm wondering that do you have images, or does this help for that? Number one, do you already have images that will inspire my clients, and can you curate the images for clients? Then the other question I have is that a lot of times people want to see themselves in these images. I'm a Black woman, so will this work if as a person, because most of the images I'm seeing are of Caucasian people, so will it work if I'm seeing more Caucasian people? And you answered my question by saying I can put an image of myself, so thank you for that. But I'm wondering about that, if I just left it as is, will it still work if I'm seeing the happy and all that? And then the last thing is, can you go over how I can offer, how this all works, and how I'll be able to offer it to my clients, like cost and everything? Yeah, that's it.
Cynthia, you're beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your questions no doubt serve a lot of people as well who might have some similar questions. So let me see if I can go through them. One of the geniuses of the aspects of positive prime is the variable speed. Another is actually the reshuffling. So we'll go through them both. So yes, a session is about 800 images, and yes, you as the author have the opportunity to curate the images so long as it continues to adhere to the formula, right? You can absolutely be instructive and prescriptive about that. So you work with our creative team. We know what types and styles and varieties and ratios of images that are required. And yes, we can actually do that for specific audiences. We have just created a private product for a Hispanic leader in the finance industry who teaches very particularly Latino communities of people how to actually own their first home. And so a lot of the photographs that are important, significant, and meaningful for that community, a lot of their dancing, a lot of their foods are absolutely a part of the mix of the photos. Now, having said that, we believe in diversity and inclusion here, really in a very fortified way. So our formula requires that all sessions, given that if your session ends up within the Positive Prime shop for all Positive Prime members and subscribers, it needs to actually have a universal appeal. And so we need to be very respectful. So, you know what? I often say to people, you could go Google the number of, for example, the number of Chinese people on the planet as a ratio to the total population. And so you would expect that if we have a world-class, internationally available, universal program, we call them a session, your session perhaps, Cynthia, that I want you to actually serve your community, but I want you to also allow this opportunity to see that you can actually serve a much broader population than you imagine. Because if you're going to be one of our featured Positive Prime leaders, your session's going to appear within our shop. And so someone from Indonesia or from the Philippines or from Dubai or from Portugal might actually read your description and go, wow, you know what? I really want that session in my library. So I hope that helps you to kind of understand that we're very cognizant of the way that we're expressing the messages for a truly global audience. And yet, yes, for a certain portion, there is the ability for you to make sure that it precisely speaks to your people. The one thing is that I can tell you from a ratio point of view, in terms of the world's population, all of our Positive Prime sessions are not entirely representative. And one of the reasons why is because inside Positive Prime, the photographs that you see, we actually have the rights to be able to show them in a commercial environment, right? So there are lots of licensing rules around photographs. And so we have to actually acquire them within these particular contracts that allow us to actually use Positive Prime within our secure environment. It's one of the reasons why, by the way, you can't download a Positive Prime session, because downloading actually contravenes some of the licensing laws around some of the ingredients that we use, right? You're allowed to actually use some of these things in your own structure that is safe and secure and private. So having said that, the people who actually own these banks of images are usually white. So it actually takes us an enormous amount of effort to sift through millions of photographs to find images that adhere to the parameters within our formula. So for example, there are very specific types of smiles. They're called Duchenne smiles. And so we could probably find a photograph of a Black person, but they might not actually be exhibiting a scientific Duchenne smile. And so we can't use that inside a Positive Prime session. It has to be a Duchenne smile. A Duchenne smile is something that you actually, all of us on the planet, we intuitively know if someone's smiling at us and it's genuine and sincere and honest and real, right? Not fake, not like, ha, 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 ha. No, but if I smile at you from my heart, you know, you just felt the difference between something that you perceived was honest and real and sincere and genuine. Like, can someone tell me, raise your hand if you actually just saw that? I just want to go to a view where I see everybody in gallery view. Did you actually feel that? Did you feel a difference? Nod if the answer is yes. Yes? Okay, thank you, Lisa. Alrighty, so the speed. At speed 1, you can luxuriate in the messages, and yes, you can savor the messages, and yes, you can actually repeat out loud. There is actually some science around self-hypnosis and self-programming and so forth. And so sometimes I could be sitting in my office and I'll be watching a session really, really slowly, and I will say out aloud so my ears hear me saying. Now, I used to do this a lot. I may as well be honest, vulnerable and raw. I used to not feel like I was enough, not good enough, not smart enough, not beautiful enough, not dynamic enough, not, I don't know, not business savvy enough, at least not enough on 1,000 different, like, whatevers. For me, the answer was, I am loved, because I wanted to actually be in the vibration or the frequency of having already received love, accepted it, been open to it, allowed myself to absorb it and appreciate it. So I am loved. I am loving. That's absolutely a fact. I am so loving. And I am lovable. That was a bit harder. But my brain is more likely to accept I am lovable if it's preceded by something that's an actual fact, right? Something that we have absolute certainty around. So I am loving. I know, right? It is me. And so my beautiful way of operating in the world is more likely to adopt I'm lovable if it comes after I'm loving. So I actually made some beautiful JPEGs that I uploaded. I am loving, loved, and lovable. I am loving, loved, and lovable. Now, I would see it, and I had it lots of times. So in one session, I might see it 20 times, right? At speed 1, I would try to say out aloud, I am loving, loved, and lovable. I am loved, lovable, and loving. And I had it in different ways so that my brain would collapse. What happens is that those 3 words would actually then become one, because my brain is still trying to process everything and categorize everything and put everything into nice, neat compartments so that it can recall quickly and so it can act quickly, right? That's what my brain's doing all the time anyway, right? So at speed 1, yes, say the statements out loud. If you're somewhere on your own and you don't feel like you're crazy, I don't mind feeling crazy, and my spouse knows I'm crazy, so crazy is the way I'm going to be. So when he hears me talking to myself in my office, he just knows that I'm repeating these incantations, as Anthony Robbins would call them, or these mantras, as Dana Wilde would call them, or these affirmations or afformations. If it's like, how could my life get any better? And if I'm asking myself a really good quality question, my brain is going to go off in search of answers. So how could my life get even better? Presupposes that it's actually already pretty good, right? So I anchor in the energy of, so our words are really precise. So I'm kind of going to say this to you. When you go faster though, at speed 4 or 6 or 8, the reality is that you are bypassing the conscious critical judgment factors of your prefrontal cortex, and you are allowing it in without resisting or rejecting it, right? So if you're really, really keen, I would advise your clients that they could watch a session all the way through once on a really fast speed. I probably am going to really quickly show you this, shall I? In fact, bear with me. I was just watching Michael Roper's session. Okay, so Michael Roper is a fantastic member of our Positive Prime community. I think you heard from him, he's in London. This is his session. It's just been released. So bear with me for 1 second while I just maneuver around my computer. I love his music. Now you can see I've got 3 minutes left. So I'm just going to pause this, and I'm going to go and exit up here out of full screen. And I'm just going to abort this. So I'm not going to finish watching it. So what will I do? I'll just go and click on dashboard over here in the left. And once I click on, oh, actually, because it was already in the background, I'm going to have to, it's going to try and reload it. But anyway, I'm just going to skip it and get back to my dashboard. So let's just say I want to watch Michael Roper's this morning, and it's only just been released, so it's brand new. So I'm watching it and I'm loving it, but I want to watch it really quickly the first time through. I'll go and actually put 3 minutes in the runtime, and then I will press play, which will actually allow the 1,000 frames. There are 200 statements and there are 800 photographs. So there's actually a minimum of 1,000 per session. Each of these individual frames will reshuffle every single time I press play, so they will be in a completely different order, and there's a whole reason why. But I'll go and put 3 in the runtime, and I'll actually watch the session really quickly. Now, 3 minutes, if I complete that, I'll actually earn the maximum number of credits of watching one session. So my credits will increase, right? So I'll actually earn the maximum number of credits if I watch it for 3 minutes all the way through. But let's just say I kind of want to luxuriate in it. I could actually put it down to 30 minutes. And Cynthia, it means it'll go a lot slower even on speed 1. So you can actually put a particular amount of time into the runtime area and then press watch now. And the software actually, it literally compresses or it elongates the period of time through which you'll get through 1,000 frames. Does that make sense? The faster you go, the more you bypass the conscious critical judgment factors of the prefrontal cortex. The truth is we take in 11 million bits of information per second, and based upon our reticular activating system, we actually only attenuate to 40 bits of information per second. So your brain has already decided what's important to you, what's familiar to you, what's going to serve you. And so you will actually have your brain sorting and sifting 11 million bits of information so that your brain will actually see 40 bits of information. So here's the groovy thing. Because we reshuffle every single time you press play, and so you could watch the same session 3 times a day if you like for 5 minutes each time, you will then earn the 15 credits per day. The truth is you're going to see completely different images at the speeds based upon the reshuffling, and your brain is going to process them and make meaning out of groups of images, but each group is then comprised of different frames. It's one of the reasons why we have scientific researchers interested in positive prime as a stroke rehabilitation tool, as a neuroplasticity facilitator. We're a long way away from having any clinical evidence actually be able to inform some statements that we can make to the market. But there is some hypotheses around the value of a positive prime session that will help the brain to actually create new connections that weren't possible before, because 2 ideas couldn't have actually been mixed or merged or commingled before, right? And so where you have really stubborn phobias, for example, let's just say you had a visceral reaction to dogs. I don't know, maybe a little puppy dog or maybe a big angry giant dog bit you when you were a child. And so you have this totally physiological response to a dog. And let's just say you love dragonflies, you love roses, you love New York City, and you love swimming. If you see a certain number of photographs representing that which you love and it's attached to that which triggers you, there is actually a watering down effect. So 8 photographs before and 8 photographs afterwards, that one in particular will actually help to desensitize you. So it is actually one of the reasons why we have lots of people in our community who are consumers with PTSD who actually say that they haven't had some kind of episode. And we've got real, true, wonderful stories of people who used to have terrible, destructive episodes regularly, like more than once a week. And then as they watched more and more positive prime sessions, they were being desensitized slowly but surely to all that used to trigger them. And then they'd have an episode like maybe once every couple of weeks, and then it became once every month. And I actually the last time I was in Los Angeles, I met one man who was actually really ill affected by some of the gun violence in gangs in Los Angeles in the 80s. Anyway, he literally hadn't had an episode for a year and totally put it down to watching a Positive Prime session. Now, whether it was only Positive Prime or he was more open to alternative and complementary and disciplined ways of being, so having an intervention every single day, who knows whether it was really just an only Positive Prime, but the fact is he perceived it that way and he actually made that meaning out of it. And of course, that reinforced his adherence and his compliance to watching Positive Prime, which just helped him to spiral up and up and up. So the truth is, absolutely yes, Cynthia. I would love for you to actually create content that helps people to manage their weight in a really, really healthy way. We do have a couple of other sessions that are in our shop that are available on weight loss. One woman is, she used to be quite famous actually with her own TV show around it, based in Florida. Her name's Rena Greenberg. She was a hypnotherapy expert. She used to run programs in hypnotherapy specifically for patients who were going in for gastric band surgery. So she ran these particular programs inside hospitals, and she used her Positive Prime session with her clients as a specific tool that enabled them to prepare mentally and emotionally and actually then follow through. Now, having said that, she's a very entrepreneurial woman, and she's gone off and created a company now manufacturing her own CBD oil and distributing it, marketing it and distributing it. So she's no longer actually in the weight loss field. She's in CBD oils. Nonetheless, her content is still incredibly valid and valuable, and there is a market. And so I would say absolutely. One of the things that I know for sure, because I am an influencer, I am a best-selling author, I am a healer, I am a therapist, like I am, right? So I have real clients that I actually really do serve. I know that when I share my messages with them via a Positive Prime program, and they actually watch the session regularly, they are more likely to actually allow the changes to happen more gracefully, more quickly, you know, with greater ease. And that's because the science about how our brain actually processes messages, particularly when they're personalized. So here's what I would say. I would definitely make money via and through us by suggesting that all of your clients or your students or your team members upgraded their accounts and actually had their own edit button. See this edit button? The edit button, by upgrading their account, is actually what allows them to personalize, to customize, to add in their own photographs. All right. So you, if you are a signature subscriber, so you're paying the, I'll go click here. So if you're paying the $19.99 a month, that activates and qualifies you to earn commissions in our referral affiliate program from anybody who signs up and upgrades, right? So you can actually, I'm just going to go here to referrals, for example, and this is actually a beta at the moment, so bear with me. If I use my referral link and I send it to somebody via an email or on social media, particularly Facebook, what actually happens is someone clicks that link. Now, let's just say I didn't have any sessions that were linked to my profile as a coach. One of the crazy things, beautiful things, amazing things is that if someone who's a client of mine uses my link before I have my own session that has been authored and published in the platform, what happens when my session is released, it actually then drops into the accounts of all the people who have used the actual link. So I'll give you an example. Anybody who uses my link will get all of my sessions that I've authored. because they're all associated with me as the owner and the author of that content, and they're actually linked to my referral link. So we've got lots of people in our community who have multiple sessions that they've authored, our professional leaders, and so their audience will have each one of their sessions. Does that make sense? Yeah, kind of. So what then happens is that if I'm a signature member, then I actually am activated or qualified to earn commission. So if one of my clients follows my prescription, my strong recommendation to upgrade their account and to personalize their sessions, then I will earn 50% when they pay their $9.99 per month, right? Now, inside our professional community, if I've got the bulk subscription, I could actually gift them the membership and I could charge them. So I could actually say to them, I really want you to edit your sessions, and I would actually guide them through doing so. And what's interesting is that, oh gosh, there's lots of people waiting to be admitted. I would actually guide them to edit it, but I will charge them as part of my coaching. So as a consultant or as a therapist or as a guide, as somebody who's actually helping others, do you know what, I'm very comfortable in saying, do you know what, my time is very valuable and you should pay me for my time, where I'm going to help you to actually choose the right content, and I'm going to help you to actually edit the sessions, and I'm going to help you to turn it into a gratitude experience. I'm going to help you to turn it into a visioning experience. So I'm going to charge for my time. If I'm a professional leader and I have the group package, the reality is that I'm paying for that in the background, but I'm paying a tiny percentage of what I'm charging for it. So the rest is pure profit. If you want to make life simple for yourselves, then quite frankly, just tell people to upgrade their account. And the reality is you're earning the commission from that anyway. And if you've got 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 clients, like let's just say you're a yoga teacher or you're a fitness instructor and you actually run classes, you can have 50 people who are paying $10 a month. And that's actually just a nice little bonus for you. And you can actually run a gorgeous little workshop that really helps people to define what's important to them in their lives. It could almost be like, I'm going to really help you to go to Google Images and find the photograph of the dress you want to buy when you're your perceived perfect weight, right? So you could actually have this experience that you actually charge for, where you get people to come to a workshop and then you show them how it is that they can harness this software to actually, you know, basically change their lives. Use your content. Cynthia, the other thing for you to know is that all of our professional leaders in this particular package have their session on their own website page, right? So you could actually drive people directly to your own website page and you could have them watch your particular content. If you want them to internalize the content, then you are going to want them inside the Positive Prime environment, editing the sessions, right? So that's me being honest. Have I answered some of your questions? And before I get on to the next question, I'll explain to you that one of the things that I am definitely in the process of doing is talking to people who are in HR departments in organizations. And I have a very consultative way of developing a proposal. So I'll go in and find out what is it that they're actually really struggling with in the organization. It might take a long time to develop relationships that are going to be fruitful with leaders in HR and organizations. The reality is lots of these employees will move on to different organizations halfway through, you know, an exploration process or an investigative process or a proposal process. However, I will try to actually educate them about what they could see in terms of productivity improvements, excuse me, inside their group of staff. And then I will create a specific Positive Prime session that I work with them on. And if I'm going to work with Positive Prime as if I'm the change management consultant, right? I'm going to charge $5,000 for that service. And I'm going to make some decent income as a consultant in actually developing the Positive Prime session that is tailored to the client and their staff. And then of course, I'm going to go back and pay Positive Prime the $900, and then I'm going to pocket the rest, right? And so Positive Prime is still going to create the session and actually have it available for the client. And if the client wants that session inside their own environment, I'm going to tell the client that they have to pay for the API, and that's $300, right? So you can cut the cloth in lots of different ways. There are lots of different opportunities. There are people inside our community who are going to give you really creative ways of leveraging Positive Prime so that you can make money as you get to know other professionals inside the community. There are lots of people who've got, you know, Positive Prime as part of their practice already. And once you're inside the certification program and you're actually watching some of the videos of some of the classes, you'll see some of the comments, you'll be able to reach out to each other. We actually are really doing a lot more now in terms of connecting. I actually have these one-on-one consultations with every single one of the Positive Prime leaders. And so I'm getting to know all of you. And I'm a really, you know, I'm like a human API connector. I'll go, oh, wow, you know what? I really think that it would be awesome if Michelle in New York, who does fantastic counseling around sex addictions, if she actually connects with somebody else who also works in the addictions field, and that might be somebody else in our community. Or, you know, Michael Seapade, who's a hypnotherapy specialist, particularly in smoking cessation, that's also an addiction. Maybe Michelle and Michael should talk to each other. He's in Ohio, she's in New York, you know, but now we all live in a virtual world. That's the actual exciting thing about being in this community, connecting with others who will actually help you to co-create. You can collaborate on projects, you can birth something new together. When we all work together, we actually have this situation where all boats rise on this rising tide. And that, I think, is probably the greatest potential that we have as we all work together and play together, and we're out there sharing Positive Prime. And something will work for one of us in a market where we're focused on. And so long as we come back and share that as a story, others will actually learn from what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it. And if we're actually brave enough to share the lessons that we've learned and the insights that we now have and the mistakes that we made and what we wish we'd done any better, it's actually going to help inform all of us, and we'll all get better and it'll all be easier and more beautiful. All right, so does that help? Yes, yes. For those of you who are really desiring to raise your profile and really become more visible, and you might have this desire to do your own TED Talk or to have your own book released, and you want it to become a bestseller, I actually think that a Positive Prime session is a fantastic lead magnet, and it's a fantastic way to augment what you're doing. If I was you, I would look very closely at the opportunity of having your life's work, your message, shared in a video interview with me out with our entire Positive Prime community. So my intention is to try to help you all share your brilliance and impact more people on the planet in distant places that you could have never imagined, right? Because you're actually part of this global community, right? Does that make sense? Any questions? We're nearing the top of the hour. Who wants something answered?
Patricia has a hand up.
Patricia, please.
Hi, Kim. Well, first of all, how does one obtain a video interview with you?
That's a great question. Essentially, a Positive Prime leader who has completed the certification program and has their own session is like at the top of the list for people who have the opportunity. And beyond that, it's really about us working together to figure out what the win-win-win-win-win is, like the win for you, the win for your audience, the win for Positive Prime, and the win for Positive Prime's audience. So we are growing our global community. There are more and more people who are joining us, even free. Like, we've actually got some referral affiliate partners who in the last month would have literally had at least 100 people use their referral link and create a free account, right? So we've got quite a lot of people inside our community who are doing that. When all of us do a lot more of that, we will soon have audiences that are really quite large, which means that the opportunity to present to that audience is also more coveted. And so it's also going to be a much more competitive process in 2021, 22, etc. But the point is, Patricia, if you want that opportunity, then, or if someone you know should have that opportunity, I'm so open to a conversation. Just book a Zoom meeting with me and say, hey, this is what I want and this is why. This is what I desire. This is what I can offer. This is how I want to serve. This is why it's important. And I'm going to listen and go, yeah, let's do it.
I will do that. Thank you, Kim.
Oh, pleasure. Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. All righty. So just before you go, in case some of you don't know, our Positive Prime Leaders package at the moment is a package that's all put together. And each individual component is actually sold separately. So there are lots of people who actually, quite frankly, only want a session. That's all they want. They want a session and they want to be inside our shop, and they're really willing to pay the $900 US. I think it's $899. They don't want the certification. They don't want the API. They don't want the marketing. They don't want anything else. They just want their own session. That's okay too. We have lots of businesses. I want you to imagine a spa or a beauty salon. It might have a branding piece. It might actually have a really beautiful Positive Prime program, and it might help to actually share the philosophies of the brand. It might help to share the essence of the brand. It might have all of these gorgeous images that are really evocative, that help clients really understand the brand. Now, if that business, let's just say it's a natural therapies clinic, or it's a fitness or health club or studio, they could have their own Positive Prime session, and it could sit inside their own website. And quite frankly, it's a marketing and branding piece, and it's for no real purpose in terms of the positive psychology and the neuroscience and the neuroplasticity and the Neuro Aesthetics and the transformation we're trying to create, you know, in a therapy situation or in a clinical situation. So there are lots of different pathways. There are lots of different people who are really intrigued about Positive Prime for a variety of reasons. Here's 3 examples just in the last couple of weeks, right? We have a large organization that's an institution for a government body. They specialize in at-risk children who are going through transitions, a little bit like the foster care program. And so these children require something that's going to help them to feel calm and confident and familiar through the process. So we might create a Positive Prime session that is precisely for that audience, developed in collaboration with the child development specialists, the experts and the qualified practitioners who know what is going to be safe for those children. Well, those children are never going to come into the Positive Prime general consumer public environment that is the Positive Prime platform, right? They are going to watch that particular session inside an environment created by that government institution. And that's what we can do because we now have the software that creates the API. Right, so that's just one example. Another example is there is actually a situation where a teacher right now who's wonderful has been teaching children who are at risk, who have special needs and come from traumatic home environments, and they're in a public school system. Now, she uses Being Happier, or she uses Professor Stephen G. Post's It's Good to Be Good. She has her own account, and what she did was she actually devoted her own account to her children in her class. They're all grade 1, so they're at the beginning, and she uploaded photographs of every single one of those children in her class, and she uploaded photographs of her own puppy dogs and so forth. And when some of those children are acting out, She actually just plays positive prime. She's actually mirroring it through a bigger screen, through an HDMI cable, so something very simple, very low tech, and she watches their reactions. I can't wait for her to come and actually share the story, because she initially presented the idea of introducing positive prime to her school principal, but he said no. So she then went and spoke to the guidance counselor. She spoke to some other teachers, and then they said, let's actually just see what happens. Let's see what the actual reaction is from the children, and let's choose a particular session that we know is incredibly safe and is the kind of content that everybody's going to feel really comfortable with. So Professor Stephen G posts, "It's good to be good." When people go off and Google Professor Stephen G posts, they go, oh, wow. They're very impressed. They have an admiration and a respect, and he's got this credibility, and his session is just fantastic, right? So you can know that a session that is contributed by Professor Stephen G post, "It's good to be good," is actually going to be really very appropriate and relevant for little children who are acting out. Then if you personalize it with their photos, well, anyway, she has these incredible stories, absolute incredible stories. It makes her life as a teacher much easier and happier and less stressful. It actually makes her children behave better. It actually really inspires them. She gets better performance out of them. The environment is actually conducive to learning. She seriously is raving about positive prime. And all she did was have her own personal program, and she has her own edit button, and she's actually just used her particular account for that environment, right? It doesn't allow her yet to create something specific for the school, and that's the next step. So the school will invest in their own session, right? We've also got people who are in HR, quite frankly, who are development experts. They run leadership programs, who are quite frankly not interested in professional, commercial positive prime sessions. All they want is access to our certification, and they want to go through all of our resources and have access to them and just up-level their own knowledge. So I think that there's a little bit of something for everyone. Does that make sense? We have been concentrating for an hour. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that if you want to come back and watch the recording, it's of value to you. This is not the only opportunity for you to ask questions. If you're actually really interested, I'm very open, I'm available. All you need to do is organize a Zoom meeting with Mayumi. Her email address, mayumi@positiveprime.com. Shh, that's her directly. Don't go sharing that. Mayumi, MAYUMI @positiveprime.com. And Mayumi can basically manipulate and maneuver my schedule to make me available for you at a time that's going to be great for you. So did I say Mayumi @positiveprime.com? Did I? I wonder if I did. Did I just have one of those? What was I saying? Anyway, Mayumi's just put it in the chat there for everyone. Mayumi @positiveprime.com. There are lots of ways to earn commission. There are lots of different people leveraging the affiliate program. If you want to talk to me specifically about your network, your association, your organization, the opportunities you want to create for yourselves, please just get in contact with me. We are so excited for what is emerging and developing, and I've just been at the Transformative Technologies annual conference. So even though I was chosen as the Australian representative in their global competition and didn't actually win but came second, I can tell you what I have seen from the world of artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms and virtual reality and augmented reality and biomarker sensors, and my brain is cooked. And we're actually starting to develop some of these things in the background with a new team who's focused on exponential technologies and how we develop positive prime over the next year or two. It is such an exciting time to be alive. So much is possible in terms of the way that we redefine access for all globally 24/7, and improve wellness and help people to be happier and healthier and brighter, both mentally brighter and brighter within their disposition. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All of you are so important for the roles that you're playing on this journey. So important. So anything that we can do to help you, we're here for you. Mwah. All righty. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Stella. Good night to London. For those of you in the US, thank you. See you soon. Bye.